For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This episode of the D-Lew Podcast is brought to you by Goalie Nutrition. As someone who's used Goalie for quite some time, I can tell you that they're not only very good, but they're very beneficial. My favorite are the Super Green Gummies. The Super Green Gummies are uniquely crafted with a spectrum of essential nutrients such as vitamins A, B12, folic acid, and thiamine. It supports a healthy liver function, healthy nervous and immune system, digestive health, a boost to your metabolism, and overall health and well-being. There are no artificial sweeteners, flavors, or colors from artificial sources. They're vegan-friendly, gluten-free, and gelatin-free. All loyal listeners of the D-Lew Podcast get a special 10% discount at checkout. Go to goalie.com, use promo code DLEW. That's goalie.com, use promo code DLEW.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This podcast is a Believe Network and Luciete production. Welcome to another edition of the D-Lew Podcast, brought to you by Believe Network. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis, and I hope the week is treating you all great. You know, as for me, this past weekend, I had the opportunity to go to the live event in Newark, Delaware for WWE's Holiday Tour. That's right. That's their theme for the month of December, going all the way to the end of the year for all of their live events on the weekends. So huge shout out to my boy Scott that hooked me up with the tickets. You know, appreciate the hookup there. You know, but it was 9 solid matches, and they really put on a good show. And I love house shows because, you know, it's not like the TV product where you only get like a 5-minute match or whatever. They're given some time, you know, and as a professional in the wrestling industry, you know, the live event is a tool for the wrestlers to get reps in, you know what I mean? And to work on new things and try new things, you know, in front of different crowds across the country. So, you know, huge shout out to every single wrestler that entertained us Sunday night. You're definitely appreciating your work. Never, ever goes unnoticed by me. But, you know, this week's episode, I'm going to shy away from wrestling just a little bit and go back to music. You know, I have the opportunity to interview a recording artist out of South Carolina. His name is Wright Way Jay. He and I met when I was doing a podcast that I still do from time to time for radio pushers called We Build Different Podcasts. You can subscribe to that as well on multiple platforms. But not only did I interview him there, but we had an opportunity to connect last November in Miami at a music conference. You know, we got along great. You know, really got to know each other. And you know, when I had told him about this podcast, you know, we definitely had to make sure that his schedule was clear so he can come on and we could talk about all aspects of his music career, early life, and everything in between. So let's not wait any longer. My interview with Wright Way Jay starts right now. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my guest on this week's episode, I've known him for about 2 years now. I met him, at the similar music promotion company that we both use for our respective music careers, Radio Pushers. Shout out to them. He and I had an opportunity to link up in Miami about a year ago at a music conference, and I saw him perform, and he's a really talented dude, and I'm honored to have him on the D-Lew Podcast. Welcome from South Carolina, Wright Way Jay. How are you, man?
Hey, my man, D-Lew, man. What it do, man? How's everything been going with you, man?
I'm going great. I'm doing great, man. No complaints at all. Like it's been a whirlwind of and all good things. But I mean, I'm honored to have you on the show. I know we've been trying to work on this for a while, but let's get right into it,
Yes,
man.
sir.
So,
Yes,
you're
sir.
from you're from the great state of South Carolina. So let's talk about life growing up in South Carolina.
Well, life in South Carolina, man. I mean, it's for the most part, it's pretty laid back, man. I mean, I was really raised in the backwoods or whatever like that. So, I mean, had my mom, had my dad, sister. Worked regular jobs. It was a lot of poverty. There was a lot of drug addiction as well. But I mean, that's a lot of places that you go at. But I
Mhm.
mean, it's cool people, good food, man. You love the beaches out here, man. It's pretty cool.
Awesome, awesome. So, like, while you were growing up there, did you delve into any sports or anything like that as far as school?
Yeah, actually, when I was younger, I dove into football and I was really into it. But what was so crazy is that my mom ended up talking me out of it. And when my dad found out, man, he laid into me something serious.
Oh
And
boy.
yeah, I mean, he was like, no, you can't be doing that. So, long story short, like that feeling of disappointment, I
Mhm.
never wanted to feel that again. From that point forward, I never just up and quit anything ever in life, from jobs to anything. I never up and quit because I never wanted to feel that again.
No, no, I hear you on that. I mean, sometimes, we have to, blaze our own trail. You know what I mean? And sometimes we have to disappoint people that we love, to do the things that we truly want to do and what our calling is in life. So if it's sports, if it's college, or whatever the case may be, music, film and television, whatever it is, you have to, go with your gut. As I always tell myself a lot of times when I feel a little self-doubt, I always say just go with your gut, D. For sure.
Yeah, man, 100.
So growing up though, obviously, music enters our lives at different times and that type of thing, regardless of the genre.
Hmm.
So who are some of the artists that you were exposed to at a young age that really got you, listening to music on a consistent basis?
Let's see, I would say Biggie, Woo, Nelly, Ludacris. I'm trying to think who else. Outkast for sure, and UGK, artists of that nature.
Okay. So you had a little bit of New York, a little bit of Atlanta. I see that with
Yo,
Ludacris. Let me tell you something. When Luda came out, I think was it 99, 2000 with Your Fantasy, and
yep.
he was different. You know what I mean? And like I
Man.
mean, but he was so positive that the lyrical
Mhm.
content you kind of spaced out because you didn't care, but it was like he was just such a positive dude, and he was just talking about the fun, women, food, whatever it is.
Exactly.
I really enjoyed his stuff, and I wish that people would really, give him his flowers. A lot of other people, because a lot of times he is not mentioned because of his
Yeah.
film career is going so well. But
Mhm.
Luda was him, man.
Oh yeah, I mean he's always had bars, but I think what with Luda, because I remember I seen the interview where he was saying like being that he was so animated with the videos, like
Hmm.
people really didn't take him serious because of like the animation. But if you look past that and like really listen to the bars,
Hmm.
he really be spitting, man.
Absolutely. I mean, to me, it's like he had his own flow. And that's what I really enjoyed about a lot of artists, not just hip hop, but just in general years ago, is that there was so much originality that everyone had
Mhm.
their own flow on how they did things. So his music is definitely timeless. So you talked about those artists and everything. So
Mhm.
talk about, when was it that you decided to give music a try? How old were you? And when
Okay.
did you make that decision? And what led you to make that decision to say, I want to be a recording artist, and I want to be not only a recording artist, I want to be a hip hop recording artist. How did that come to be?
Well, that came to be. I was actually hanging out with a group of friends when I used to work at this grocery store, and like they used to bring me to their house, and they would be recording, and I would just like sit back and just watch them.
Hmm.
And I kind of like, let me try it one time. So I tried it, and the first rap I did was horrible, man. But at the time, I thought it was like the greatest thing on the planet.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So I just kept doing it and doing it, and eventually I just caught the bug, man, and I just roll with it, man.
And you know what? everyone, a lot of us that are in this space, we have our first, whatever, our recorded material. And we may cringe at it now, but being in the moment when you're doing it, you thought this was like the biggest thing in the world. And
Man.
Seriously, and I remember me and my nephew, God rest his soul, he and I used to record stuff when we were little on my tape recorder. And I mean, we thought we were going to be big stars because we were just the most silliest makeshift beat we're making. I'm using the bass was my mattress, the snare was my
classic.
I mean, it was so much just juvenile stuff, but we thought it sounded great. But thinking about it, it was like, but I totally understand what you're saying. We do what we have to do to create the magic, of creating music and making it our own, for sure. So how old were you when, around that time when you were doing that?
Yeah, I just got out of high school. Now I think about it.
Okay.
So it was like six, like late teens.
Okay.
I'll say like 18.
Okay. So when you were getting started, who were some of your mentors that was kind of guiding you, during those years of like, okay, giving you a little bit of advice here or there and just to really get you started?
Right. Well, definitely like, the group of friends that I was hanging out with at the grocery store, because they was more into it than I was. And then when I actually started going to like different recording studios, I would listen to certain engineers, man, and they would just be like, hey, man, say it like this. Don't go too loud. Go a little soft like this. Try to smooth it out or whatever like that. So I would just take all that information in, man, and it really helped sharpen me into what I am today.
And that's what, and a lot of times, and I was just talking to a friend of mine the other day about, sound engineers and like how important they are. And I was talking about the sound engineer I had when I recorded Every Second a few years ago and how he pushed me in the studio. Shout out to Electric out of Philly. He literally, I mean, it was almost like a training session, literally, because he was literally trying to get the absolute best out of me, out of the session, so the record could sound like top quality. So I totally get what you're saying, but I'm glad that your friends were able to guide you to quality sound engineers where you can really hear, okay, this person's perspective or that person's perspective, and getting you and trying to find your sound, because in the beginning you're still trying to find yourself. You're trying to figure out so many aspects. You got the business, you got the this, you got the writing, and you got the copywriting, you got the publishing, all these other pieces to the puzzle that we're trying to build, the music career. Right. But the simplicity of, hey man, let me just go to a few sessions to really understand what I'm getting myself into, but also truly trying to understand the process of everything, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Because now I think about it even more. Like after they gave me those tips, like I actually was able to get like an actual home studio for myself, and I would just make like 100 songs, just keep recording until I finally was like, all right, I'm starting to understand this now. So, because like without them telling me, I would just think to myself, I'm super dope. So I really needed somebody to come in and be like, hey, bro, no, you need to clean that up. That's not how it's supposed to sound.
Right. And I mean, it's not about what we want to hear, it's what we need to hear. And I think that's having the right people around you, because when you have a bunch of people that saying, hey, yeah, man, you're dope, to make you feel good, that's one thing. But I would rather hear, constructive criticism to take me to the next level. Like when I recorded my first record and there were people giving me like, okay, D, maybe you need to try this on your next one and try that. Then I applied that to my next record. And then it's like, okay, then I was starting to really be hard on myself. It's like, okay, Derrick, this is not where we want to be. And then when I recorded my next record, it was just like, not only was the production, in a better place, but also just my sound in general and the things to work on, what breathing on what beat do you breathe on, and all these to really bring out the fullness of what you're trying to come across. So I totally get what you're saying there. Now, as you were writing, and obviously you talked about some of your, when the artists you were listening to, when you were growing up, but now that you're entering the professional realm now that you're trying to really understand, the business and everything, who were your inspirations when you were like digging into the writing process of music?
definitely like people of the likes of Nas, Kendrick, Cole, Nipsey, like people who really spit from their heart, and you could really feel their lyrics. Like I could literally close my eyes and listen, for example, to Nas, "I gave you power," and I
Mhm.
can literally visualize every single word that he's saying. I'm like, that's what I want to be. I want my music to be like like an audio movie where you can just close your eyes and
Mhm.
visualize everything.
That all you we're on the same wavelength because I'll tell you why. Because when
Hmm.
I write music, I'm visualizing a music video.
Right.
How do I want this to be seen from a visual perspective? Because I feel as though that I'm writing lyrics instead of um I guess you want to talk about parts in regards to just like screenplay or something like that. I'm writing
Mm.
lyrics instead of a screenplay. So
Hmm.
I'm still have this visual concept in mind to put to this music.
Hmm.
So visually, I totally get what you're saying there because that's how that's how I get it done.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I feel like you can create like a better experience with the listener when they can actually visualize what you're saying versus trying to like sit here and figure it like what did he say? Like, do I gotta like no, you can just close your eyes, listen,
Mm-hmm.
and it will all make sense.
Indeed, indeed. Now, as you're growing, as we're gearing as far as you starting your career, so let's talk about the team for a second and people that you've worked with over the years.
Mhm.
Now, who are those that that your trust, your counsel, as far as saying, hey, these are the producers that I work with, and that's bringing the best version of Right Way Jay. Who are some of those producers and the people that your team that you've worked with?
Yeah, definitely, man. So I want to definitely give a major shout out to my man Gamble. He's definitely, man, he's a solid guy when on the production and definitely solid when it's come to like helping me create like the sound that I'm looking for. Let's see, my man Carl. He's phenomenal, man. Great musician, man. Great producer, man. Um, oh yeah, my man B Dot, man. Like he's definitely on it, man. Like he always lets me know, like, hey, bro, you. He's like the guy, like he'll make me do a line like 20 times, like just one line because he's like, nah, you didn't say it right. I want to make sure you get this line right because if you get this line right at this part right here, it's going to sound phenomenal. So I definitely want to
Awesome,
give a shout out to those guys.
awesome, awesome. Now, when you were coming up with your stage name,
Mhm.
out of all the the options you may have, how did you come up with Right Way Jay?
Well, it's actually a play off my name because being that my last name is Wright, and I always wanted to go the right way. I just like, all right, I know there's a way I can tie it in. Plus, I wanted a name that fit me. You know what I mean? And like for the longest time, like when you're trying to do this music, man, people can look at you like you're crazy from the time that you invest in, the money that you invest in.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, what are you doing? You're not making a profit off of this. You're going the wrong way. I'm like, no, I am going the right way, and I will show you.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just combined that with Right Way. And being that my first name is Josh, Right Way Jay, everybody call me Jay, Right Way Jay.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it's hard to explain to people how much we have to put into this. You
Man.
know what I mean? Like if you're simply in this for the money right away, well, guess what? You're setting yourself up for
Talk
a
about
lot
it.
of letdown, broken dreams, and everything else you can possibly think of because the money is not going to be there in the beginning,
Not at all.
especially in the modern day of music where people are not buying music anymore. People are
Hmm.
streaming, and we don't get
Hmm.
a goddamn thing, excuse my language, we don't get anything from streams anymore. You have to literally have every person on planet Earth stream your song once to see some type of something. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
you really have to do this for the absolute pure love and joy of creating music and contributing to the world, and eventually that will come. But like you said, when you're trying to find your way and everything, we have to it's just really the journey. It's the
It really
journey.
is. No, I agree, man. You know what I mean? And like, and I want to give a shout out to like Nipsey, rest in peace, man. He showed that people actually do buy music. Like when you have like an actual like fan base of people, they will support your music. And like I think what we're seeing now, especially like with artists like La Russell, you're seeing like a wave of artists who are like, I'm going outside of the streaming and I'm going to find a way to create my own revenue through my own fan base.
Right. And this is really, and that's where the hard work comes in, because you can, you could talk about, going to your neighborhood or whatever the case may be. Some people may not even support you there. So you really have to go outside of your comfort zone for people that may not know you. And they say, oh, that sounds dope. I'm going to check that out. Hey man, you could buy it here, buy it there, whatever. And that's where the snowball effect comes.
Exactly, man.
But it takes time. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of no's, a lot of everything.
Ooh. Yes, indeed, man. Yes, indeed, man. It's almost like trying to push a boulder up a hill. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
And people are gonna look at you like, bro, you can't move this boulder up this hill. I'm like, okay, watch. And
watch
as
me.
you move, exactly.
Watch me.
You know what I mean? And as you move in this boulder, people start seeing it. Then you're gonna have some people come along like, hey, bro, let me help you move this boulder, man, because I've been seeing you been pushing it for like the last 20 miles. Let me help you. I'm like, all right, cool. Now that same boulder, that same weight, is not as heavy anymore because now you have people helping you.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's the goal. Just you keep on pushing that dream until other people come behind you, and you can manifest it.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about just your library for a second. As far as just your catalog, the first single that I saw was "Internal Thoughts."
Yes.
Talk about that. What went into it? What the song is about, and what that means to you, and how did it feel releasing that first project?
Internal Thoughts, man. Like that was just a record. Like I was really just in my mind for a minute because I was thinking to myself of just I was really at a low point, and I just really just wanted to get those emotions out because I mean, as artists, like we go through those hard times, and music being that it's so therapeutic, like I just needed that moment of therapy to just release those inner feelings of just self-doubt and not really sure, but at the same time, like I gotta keep going because I'm already this far in. Like it makes no sense to turn back when I'm this far in.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, man. Like this music thing, not only as a music fan, but even just as a creator, it is therapeutic because you're just letting out so much emotion. You know what I mean? That could be, bottled up inside of you. And when you're just letting the pen and the paper just work from your brain to your hand, to the pen to the paper, it's like everything is just like working at once, like clockwork, like clockwork.
Right.
Like clockwork. And it is the most freeing feeling in the world. It truly is.
Yes, I agree. I couldn't agree more, man.
So we move on to the album, Timeless Music.
Yes,
I know you had a few singles. There's Animal Kingdom, then there's City Lights, Need I Say More, All Pro. So as you were putting out those singles and everything, was the end game of saying this is more or less okay, this is an introduction to who Wright Way Jay is, to really get it going, and then we're going to bring this album? Was that the initial plan?
Yeah, like because like I was still trying to like more or less find my sound, so I was just recording record after record. But then with the Timeless record, like I really felt like, okay, with this type of sound, this fit my rap style and my voice because I can rap and I can smooth it out at the same time, which is basically what I am. I can rap, but I'm smooth at the same time.
Right. Speaking of which, in your estimation, from your vision, because again, from your eyes, because again, you are Wright Way Jay. What is Wright Way Jay's style? What's his musical style?
I would say it's lyrical, but it's melodic at the same time. It's almost like if you would take like Ludacris and Nate Dogg and put them together, you would get me.
Nate Dogg is a legend. That is the king of hooks. Like it's like think about it, man. Like area codes. Come on. Bruh. Regulate. I mean, he has been on every hit record that he's ever he was a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean that West Coast sound, like that early mid '90s, late night, dog. You couldn't. It wasn't a hit until Nate Dogg got on. Shout out Ice Cube. I'm telling you, because with his voice being so deep and my voice being so deep, I was like, that's the person that I need to like get behind and like learn how to really control my vocals when it comes to singing.
Got it. And again, we touched a little bit on timeless music, but there was a song that you actually performed in Miami when we were all together called Lost Souls. And when I had listened to it for the very first time, that was some deep, deep stuff. So tell the people about what went into writing that record and why did you write that record?
Well, that record was actually about a friend of mine who actually he just passed away a couple of weeks ago, so rest in peace.
Sorry to hear
He actually appreciate that, man. But he actually he was down bad on drugs. And basically I wrote that song telling his life story, and I wrote it while he was alive. So he heard the record, and I wish that he would have listened so that his life, so that he could have made a change, because he was somebody who could rap just like I could. Matter of fact, we used to rap together.
Right.
You know what I mean? And when I saw him take that turn for the worse, because he got laced with like some bad drugs, and when he made that turn for the worse, and I just saw him going down, down, down. I was like, man, please get out of this. But he didn't want to listen to me. He didn't want to listen to anybody. So, it just really, it was really hard, man. But you know what I mean? It was tough because I actually had to perform that song at his funeral. Yeah, so it is different now. But I mean, now, I want to shout out my team at Radio Pushers, man. We got this Lost Soul Survivor project where we actually want to go to different rehab centers throughout the state and help people battle drug addiction.
Talk about that a little bit, and I'm glad you brought that up. Because we hear so many of people just regardless of what if it's the recreational stuff, or if it's the prescription drugs, or if it's alcohol or whatever, and I hope and pray that everyone gets off of that, you know what I mean? But what are you putting, what is the plan in place to visit some of these rehab centers to get to talk to the people?
Well, me, because see, I'm a great communicator when it comes to things like that. So like my goal is I actually want to just sit down and really just talk and really get to the understanding of the why. Because a lot of addicts, like, they don't really think about, why am I doing this? They're just doing it just to do it. But it's like, no, what are you running from? What's the pain that's causing you to be like, I have to get this drug so I don't feel this pain no more? Because once we figure out what the pain is, then we can begin to solve the problem.
Wow. That's something to really think about, because I think it's all about, because you could put the temporary Band-Aid on anything, right? Yep. But it's really getting to the core of the issues. And it could be something for, regards PTSD, anxiety, depression, childhood trauma, all these other different things, dealing with mental health. And I think that is a huge, huge topic these days, because I think when you think about those that are out there that are, addicted and that type of thing, there is a reason. It could have been peer pressure. Could have been forged. You just never know the situation. So I'm glad that, you're partnering with Radio Pushers, and getting that initiative off the ground. So on that note, no problem. How, in your estimation, how does your brand of hip hop fit today in 2023?
My brand of hip hop. Well, I would say it like this. People are actually looking for something fresh and new, because you get so much of like the same recycled music that people are looking for a breath of fresh air.
Right.
So with me coming in, speaking on the topics that I'm speaking about, and being that my music is clean, like there's no cursing, there's no type of, none of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm able to appeal to a wider range of people versus other artists.
Got it.
So,
Got it.
yeah.
And the second part of that question is, what could you fix about the industry?
What could I fix about the industry? If I could fix anything, you know what? No, I just want to really just be me and do what I do. Like because I'm just it's almost like what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, like, I'm not going to condemn the dirty glass of water. I'm just going to put a clean glass next to it and let the people decide what they want to do.
That's a good mindset to have.
So I'm not here to condemn anything. Like I'm like, hey, y'all do what y'all do. I'm just going to do what I do, and I'm just leave it at that.
Gotcha, gotcha. Now, when you look in the mirror, though,
hmm
what does Wright Way Jay see in the reflection?
I see a man that still has a long way to go. I mean, I feel people tell me all the time, like, "Hey, man, you're doing great. You're doing great." And I mean, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But like the vision that I see is not it's not there yet. Like, you know what I mean? So it's like
Mhm.
this everlasting hunger for more. That there's still more mountains to climb. There's still more things that have to get done. More goals that have to be completed. So I just see a man on a mission.
Hey, man, we're never complacent, right? Never
Never.
complacent.
Never.
Absolutely,
Yes,
absolutely.
sir.
So, what has been the best advice that anyone in this industry has given you since you've been on this journey?
Have a business plan. Coming into this game, have a business plan because at the end of the day, this is a business. You know what I mean? I heard a wise man once say, like he was relating it to show business. You got show and you got business. Which one is the bigger word? Obviously, business. So that's the one you pay the most attention to.
Yeah, and somebody told me one time, a long time ago, is you never treat this as a hobby because that's
No,
because if you see it as a hobby, then people are going to treat you that you're treating as a hobby, and they will treat you as such. So,
100%.
so I totally understand. It's like 90% business, 10% music because you're learning so much about really tightening up the screws in regards to what you need to do as a businessman, a businesswoman in this industry to make sure that your ship is tight. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You want to make sure that all those things are together, all the bolts and things are connected and they're tightened up, so you don't have any type of loose ends. Because unfortunately, people do get lost along the way. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that's when the frustrations happen. And you've seen it all happen before. You know that.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, indeed.
Now let's talk about WWJ Multimedia Group. Let's talk about
Yes,
that
sir.
for a second.
Yes, sir. Well, that is the label, WWJ Multimedia Group. We actually want to get definitely more into music. We also want to get into film, gaming, streaming, and I feel like there's one more thing. I can't think of it right now, but I know those are the cores that we are focusing on at this moment right now for sure.
Gaming, wow, that's huge. So we're talking, are you talking about gaming and streaming in regards to like a Twitch type thing, or
Yeah, yeah. You know, I definitely got to get around some more people who are definitely more knowledgeable than I am at that. But I know I definitely see that as something that's definitely profitable in getting into for sure.
okay? Now, do you have any other future projects that you're working on currently that you can talk about musically?
Musically, I mean, I have a few singles that I'm putting together to drop next year, but outside of that, I can't really say too much right now. Outside of that,
Awesome, awesome. And my last question for you before we get out of here is, where can everyone find the great Right Way Jay on all social media? Where can they find you?
yes, sir, yes, sir. Well, you can find me on Instagram at one WRIGHTWAYJAY. That's the same thing for TikTok, YouTube, Right Way J Music, Twitter, or I think they call it X now,
Mhm.
uh, Right Way J1, and Spotify, Right Way J.
Awesome. Well, Jay, I know, like I said, this has been a long time coming. And like I said, you and I, connected about 2 years ago, with Radio Pushers. And again, I'm glad that, I'm able to have a platform for my Radio Pushers family to come on, talk about their careers, then, now, and in the future, and things that you have going on. And like I said, you're very talented. I enjoyed, when we were able to connect in Miami. And like I said, nothing but positive vibes going into the new year for you, man.
Man, I appreciate it, man. D-Lew, man. Salute to you, my man.
You got it. Well, that does it for this week's edition of the D-Lew Podcast. Once again, I want to thank Wright Way Jay for stopping by, to talk about all that he has going on with his music career. And again, I wish him all the best of what he continues to do. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to the show so you're getting all new content when it is available, usually on Thursday mornings at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, okay? So when you go to any platform, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Pandora, and many other platforms that are out there in the podcast space, so make sure you take care of that. Also, shop.derricklewis.com. You can get all of the Luciete Music branded hoodies and t-shirts right over there at shop.derricklewis.com. My single, Espacion, with the talented Angie Stars, is on multiple platforms, so make sure you check that out in addition to the music video that can be seen on the Vivo app, YouTube, Tidal, and Apple Music, so make sure you check that out. You can follow me on all of my social media at The Real DT Lew, with the exception of Facebook, which is Derrick T. Lewis official page. I mentioned on last week's episode that I am now the latest brand affiliate for WWEshop.com. So if you go to all of my social media platforms, you can click the link in the bio, which is my link tree. When you see WWEshop.com, that is my link to get all of your latest WWE merch, including the returning CM Punk. And I've been touting all this ever since he came back, but he has brand new t-shirts, hoodie, and so much more that's coming soon, in addition to the returning Randy Orton that also has new merchandise as well. So if you go to all of my social media, go to the link in the bio and click on my WWE shop link, and you can get all of your latest WWE merch. Well, I'm going to get out of here, and as I always say, no matter what it is you do in life, always remember to make it count. See you next time.